So we have with us today Mr. Shankar Prasad, the founder and chief executive officer of Plum Goodness. Hi, Shankar. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure entirely. Thanks for having me, Anjana.
So your journey from Hindustan Unilever to founding Plum Goodness, showcases a transition from a corporate environment to entrepreneurship. So how do you believe your experience at HUL, particularly in manufacturing and product development, has influenced your approach to building and scaling Plum, as a vegan beauty brand?
So I started off in HUL about 27 years back. It was 1997. I started off as a management trainee. Largely worked in manufacturing for the first 4 years, and then subsequent 4 years was with R&D. Total of 8 years. What I learned functionally is, of course, the nuts and bolts, quite literally, of making FMCG products. But I think a place like HUL also teaches you a lot in terms of just how you approach business, how you approach work, how you approach people, how you approach situations, how you approach money, how you approach values, ethics, integrity. Uh, so it's tough for me to say one, two, three things which I took away from HUL. It's really I'm very grateful, in fact, for all the foundation that was laid. And I think I'm speaking for a lot of liver alums here. The foundation that a place like HUL lays comes in handy no matter what you do, not just in entrepreneurship, but no matter what you do. But in my case specifically, I would call out just product understanding, uh, not just the formulation bit of it, but how the whole thing comes together, all the way from concept to design to manufacturing to selling. That's number one. Second is working in large teams and managing projects, which in our scheme of things is very important. Third is the importance of brands in this world. Although I did not work on the branding or marketing side when I was in HUL, but I was very closely uh, associated with the marketing folks in my R&D stint. So whatever I saw from the sidelines and how HUL as a company puts brand above everything else uh, is still, those are things that have stuck with us to this day, and that's what is helping us at Plum, decide, take better decisions every day.
Okay, great. So, Shankar, Plum Goodness has garnered significant recognition in a very less time actually,
Yeah.
including being hailed as the best vegan cosmetic brand by PETA India. So, what unique strategies or philosophies do you attribute to this success, and how do they reflect your personal values and vision?
Uh, so Plum was founded on the premise and with the credo of be good, and at some level, those two words I also resonate a lot with, and they're very simple words. Sometimes we have been accused of being too generic with them, but I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that it's very easy to say be good, but it's very difficult to be good in the rough and tumble of everyday's challenges, competition, expectations, stakeholders of all ilk, shapes, and sizes. But to continue to say that, as a brand, we will shape ourselves and we will continue to spread the message of being good and doing good, and not just saying it but actually doing it and delivering it, and also putting up our hands and saying we made a mistake when we do make a mistake, and everybody does make mistakes, is what has, I think, fundamentally at the core of it been our source of strength. uh, Thanks to all the early adopters who we call plumsters, the brand began to pick up recognition from people who value these things, who value transparency, who value caring for others, who value caring for the planet, who value going vegan when you absolutely can be vegan without compromising on efficacy, who value transparency in disclosure. So that's the cohort that gave the brand its early wins and early successes. And what we've done is really built on it uh, along two or three dimensions. One is, of course, geographical reach. Second is product categories. Third is just reaching out to more and more people in terms of the depth in each market that we operate in who subscribe to this philosophy. And at a very sort of 30,000 feet level, this is what has really helped us grow. And then it is down to tactics and plans for every year, every quarter, which you can tweak basis what the market demands of you. But the longer term journey, thankfully, hasn't changed in the last decade, and hopefully will not change in the next decade. And that is Plum telling people to be good.
Okay, great. So, establishing a brand presence both online and offline, it requires a multifaceted approach. So, what challenges did you encounter in expanding Plum's reach to encompass over 350 towns and cities in India? And how did you overcome them while maintaining brand integrity and the
Right.
quality?
So it is very much WIP is how I will first qualify this question itself. We are present in 350 towns and cities, but it's a very WIP presence. And rightly so, because it is still a very young retail presence that we have. But if I rewind the clock a little bit, we did not go retail initially. We wanted to be sure that the brand has the product market fit right. There's some bit of awareness demand, at least in the geographies that we are going to. There's some acceptance of the price point and the propositions that we are offering before we went to retail, because it's one thing for me to do something online, it's another thing for me to replicate it offline. It's not the same. And therefore, we were very cautious when we began in 2017 in terms of where we went, what we did, what we said, and how we approached it. There was a lot of experimentation. There was a lot of uh, failures also. There was a lot of successes also. Thankfully, the successes outnumbered the failure, and therefore, we are living here to tell you the tale. But the approach has always build solid, build slow, but build properly. Don't necessarily put speed over accuracy or quality. And that's how I must give full credit to the team that built out. When awareness was very, very low about the brand and about vegan as a concept and about the kind of ingredients that we were using and the benefits that we are offering, it was still early days in 2017. Now it is sort of more commonplace, but in 2017, it was still early days, and the team did a phenomenal job of evangelizing the concept, the brand, the value prop to the retailer, to the distributor, to the consumer, and built it brick by brick through these years, including the two very tough years of COVID, I must call out, when retail had all but collapsed in certain months, but they kept going. I think I will attribute this to the strategy of putting brand above everything else, and two, people coming in with that sense of commitment and that sense of ownership, a passion for what the brand stands for and what they stand for within the brand. And that is what I would attribute as the two building blocks of our success in the retail market. But as I said right in the beginning, that it is very, very WIP, and we are very, very small compared to what we can be and should be in retail. And that's what we are uh, aiming for over the next few quarters and years.
Okay. And I think consumers are now more into ingredient based products, rather than earlier we were looking for more solution based
Right.
products. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. It's both. They are seeking ingredients for solutions.
Yeah.
I think the end game is the same, that you seek a
Right.
certain benefit. The route has changed, and let's say the reasons to believe are different. Earlier, it used to be celebrities and just share of voice in advertising that used to matter. Even retailer recommendation used to matter. Now it's people are deciding for themselves basis the research that they do. And research is typically online. I Google for the ingredient, I Google for products, I look at what influencers have to say, I look at what blogs have to say, I look at what's happening abroad, and then I take a decision. So the process of identifying what's right for me has changed quite dramatically. Um, but where I need to go has not changed fundamentally. The needs are still the same.
Okay. So Shankar, I was reading that you're very passionate about tech and science. So, how do you leverage innovation in your product development to differentiate Plum's offerings in a competitive market? We see a lot of brands
Right.
entering the skincare segment, and also what role does sustainability and ethical practices, they
Yeah.
play in your product formulations?
Right. So science and technology clearly remains very dear to me, and you know, and there is science in everything. There is innovation possible in everything. And the one thing that I like about beauty and personal care space, which is where I've spent my lifetime here and will continue to do so, is about is the fact that there is practically infinite scope for innovation. You can't ever say that I got the perfect moisturizer or the perfect serum and I don't need to look beyond. There's definitely an improvement possible, no matter along what dimension. There is definitely one plus on that which is possible, and which people attribute value to, which people appreciate. It's not just something that we are doing because we like doing and just incremental innovation with no outcome, but the ability to delight people with innovative products uh, is almost infinite in this industry. And so, for example, whatever we spoke about ingredients a couple of minutes ago did not exist 5 years back, and it's quite phenomenal as to see how it has evolved. So we are in an industry which is very, very welcoming of innovation. Yet at the same time, it is very demanding of what you put out. So you can't put out things without being thorough about what you do, and that's the ethos that I would say with humility that we have built internally. That sometimes we are almost too strict in our validation of what we do, in the questioning of what we ourselves are producing. And I'm happy doing that at some level because it's better that we question instead of it going to the market and being questioned, which is a more expensive, more damaging way of doing things. I mean, not that we get everything right, but at least whatever we put out, we put hand on heart saying, "Was this is the best that we could come up with, and this is what we are putting out." And then market gives us a thumbs up or not so much of a thumbs up, and we like good students go back and rework and come back. If it's a thumbs up, great. I mean, we are happy if they are happy. Uh, so the ethos, therefore, is of doing the right thing at all times. And to give you an example, we recently launched a product which was on, which was meeting all parameters. One would never go and do something like what we did normally in today's day and age when all the focus seems to be on doing things quickly and doing things with a hype and all that. But our people quietly went and said, okay, I have made this product. It is stable in my stability trials in the lab. But I just need to make sure that whatever I prepared in the factory at a larger batch size is as stable as what I made in the lab. I didn't ask them to do it. It is their own, which is where I think the ethos, I'm happy to report that it has permeated. And they went and said, let me actually centrifuge this and give it a torture test. When you centrifuge it, you spin it at a very high RPM of almost 3000 RPM, and see if something separates out, right? Now, this test was done on the lab batch, passed in flying colors. We had tested it for whatever is the stability, time period, all passing. We took the largest batch and we found a very, very slight separation at a certain batch size, right? And we were running against time for launch. But the team said we should not go ahead with this. Now, it took a lot of courage to say, hang on, pause. We will not launch this yet. They went back, they studied which batch size under what condition was creating this problem. They progressively scaled the batch size down from X to, let's say, 0.3x. And then they figured out that at 0.3x batch size, it is working perfectly. And each study, mind you, takes 3 or 4 days because the phenomenon develops after 3 or 4 days of sitting. So it's not instantaneous. They were patiently working through day after day, week after week of trials, getting to the point where we can comfortably say that 0.3x batch works. Now we will start scaling 0.3x to 0.5, 0.7, 1, 1.5, whatever is the demand. But we will not rest till that 0.3 is perfectly done. And where you can say that I'm putting the best thing out. That's just to give an example of the thoroughness which the team itself brings in. And even if at one point in time I would have told them, this is a very minor thing, it may or may not develop in market, why did you put it out? They would have turned around and said, I will not do it. And that's the beauty of what I think we have internally. And I'm very happy that I work with a team that would rather say no to me than say yes out of fear or favor and then end up doing something that's wrong for the brand. So this is just an example to tell you how we approach innovation, science, and thoroughness in what we do. There are many, many more examples. To answer your question on sustainability, I would frankly not rate ourselves very, very high. And I know it's a very bold statement that I'm making. I would rate ourselves very high on intent. as a brand, you see all the graphics behind it's all, we want to do good, and we also think about the planet. We've been participants in 1% for the planet ever since we began. We gave 1% of our revenue to wildlife conservation, and we still take our empties back free of cost from people and recycle the plastic and so on. But in the environment that we operate and the business environment that we operate, uh, two things become difficult. Number one is to remain competitive at a certain price point, uh, while being truly sustainable. For example, if I started using aluminum or glass or wood, uh, again, it's debatable whether these things are more or less sustainable than plastic. But even if for a second you took that they're more sustainable, whether it is going to give the same customer experience at the same price point with the same kind of shelf life, big question mark. Can I make do without plastic tubes in this country? Unlikely. All of us like squeezing things out of tubes. I can't have a jar for everything, and so on. So these are practical issues that we grapple with every day, saying how do I deliver this experience, which is my prima facie reason to exist in this industry, while being sustainable. So the thing that we have done is at least making sure we walk a few steps every day in that direction. Whether it is elimination of, let's say, pasting tape on our D2C, whether it is elimination of the fillers that go into it, whether it is elimination of monocartons altogether on some of our face washes, whether it is reducing the amount of plastic that we are using, whether it is even going in for refills where possible, and so on, and with the kind of plastic that we use on our bottles also. How much of recycled PET is being used in the PET bottles that we're using? So those are things we are silently doing only because we believe that we ought to be walking those few steps every day and pushing our vendor ecosystem to get more sustainable along with us. Not possible for a reasonably small size company to push the agenda because it's all volume driven. But thankfully, there's a larger movement in place within the FMCG industry to get more sustainable. And we definitely want to be at the forefront of that, not as a holier than thou statement to make, but rather as a responsibility that we have as a participant in the ecosystem.
Okay, that's really, really great. So, Shankar, the digital landscape has transformed the way brands engage with consumers today. So can you elaborate on Plum Goodness's, digital marketing strategies, and how have you, kind of contributed to the brand growth and consumer loyalty?
It has evolved over a period of time. When we began, we didn't have an Instagram account. It's only 2015 that we got our Instagram account even. So from there on to first influencer marketing campaigns somewhere in 2016, 17 when the space was very new, to today where there are practically hundreds of influencers that we work with on a monthly basis. Uh, you leveraging Facebook largely for performance marketing, which is the journey of every D2C brand out there. Leverage it largely for performance marketing. Now to leveraging Facebook for a full funnel approach. Why even Facebook? Any platform, even Google for that matter. So we have evolved both in terms of the scope of things we do, as well as the depth with which we operate on each of these. In fact, the digital commerce platforms have also been evolving as places to build the brands on, and a lot of brands are doing that very successfully, sometimes more successfully than us also. So there is learning to be had at every stage, uh, and it's a vast, vast, vast landscape. And I'm yet to meet a person who's convincingly being able to say that I have mastered every bit of digital marketing and advertising there is. Somebody who's very good at influencer marketing probably is very poor at, let's say, Amazon advertising, and so on and so forth. So it is a vast field with specializations developing. And all I can say is that we have been keeping pace with, or trying to keep pace rather, with how fast it is developing, and be trying to be as data driven as possible, uh, in terms of where we deploy our advertising monies. And because it is changing so fast, it is a little difficult to uh, optimize also, because the base is shifting every few quarters here and there. So you can't optimize over long periods of time. Unlike TV advertising, which over decades was refined into a science, digital is not getting that time to actually be honed into that, because the base is shifting extremely quickly. But I think we are in that phase where it is going through its formative, rapid growth phase. And all we can do is keep pace with it.
So, Shankar, building a brand, it requires a deep understanding of consumer preferences and
Right.
evolving trends. So, how do you stay attuned to the changing needs and desires of your target audience, and how does this inform your product development and marketing strategies?
Initially, it was driven by intuition because that's where mm, we started. We didn't have data. The second phase came when we started listening to customers directly, and that's thanks to us being a D2C brand. You're in direct touch with your customers. The
Hmm.
third came through social listening, which is people commenting on our ads, on our Instagram, on other people's Instagram, with influencers, and so on and so forth. The fourth came through channels, where the channel started saying, "Hey, you guys are doing well in A, but you guys need to do better in B, and this is what you're missing out in B. Why don't you start looking at these?" And then we start going back. The fifth is now down to more data-driven ways of listening to feedback, not only on our products but on the category in general. Consumer expectations, the consumer voice being distilled from thousands and thousands of uh, pages of content into actionable insights. So that's the frontier that we are currently at, being able to take feedback. We've also tried predicting what's going to happen. We've not been very successful in terms of hit rate. When you look at trends and say, okay, this is going to become big next year, let's start investing. So those are still WIP to predict our next blockbuster. But yeah, I mean, it's evolving. It's evolving into more and more data-driven ways of working, but not letting go of fundamentally getting the pulse of the human being that the customer ultimately is. And that is down to what we call the combination of the science and art of innovation. There are some things I can quantify and tell you the why of. There are some things where I have to go with my gut and say option A is better than option B, and I
Right.
really don't have data to prove that. So, which makes it fun. Otherwise, it'll be very dull and boring. You just become a robot getting data and chucking things out. But the fun part of it is actually creating things that 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 are very intuitive and that are very human at their core, yet
Absolutely.
get driven by insights.
Okay. So, Shankar, your diverse background spans consumer goods, consulting, and financial services. So, how do you integrate the learnings from your varied experiences into your role as a CEO of Plum? And then also, how does this, interdisciplinary approach contribute to the brand's growth and success?
I've been fortunate to be having the opportunity to have had the opportunity to work in the places that I did with the people that I did. And in addition to the places that I worked, I think I also got the opportunity to work with and learn from uh, really, you know, how do I put it, exemplary people in their fields. And it has been a non-stop journey of growth and learning. And I dare say that that learning continues to this day from my team. So it's not as if I tell them everything. I also learn from them. Uh, Things that I did not know or I did not know enough of, or I did not know the right way of doing things of. So according to me, learning it truly is lifelong, and I'm glad that I get to learn what I get to learn. Specifically, I think Unilever part I covered in terms of how it helped. The McKinsey bit was all about problem solving in a structured way, and being able to prioritize the big picture items from the smaller items, and sort of looking at the big ticket items and saying where do we need to focus and how do we need to problem solve in a structured way, logical way, analytical way, data driven way, as opposed to being random about picking something and running behind it. The investing side of things, although I was in the operation side there, taught me how the world of finance works, the world of investments works. And any business, whether it is our business, any other business, cannot be divorced from the realities of how the world of finance works, because finance runs the world of business. I mean, money runs the world of business. You have to understand what money needs in order to be deployed, to be willing to be deployed in your business. So why is that money coming in? And therefore, to understand the needs of the stakeholders, to understand how the market views your business, understand what the implications of your decisions are on market outcomes, is a very important sort of skill set to add to one's list. And I think those were the foundations of what I began with in 2013 when I did. But having said that, the learnings over the last 10 years are probably outweighing the learnings of the previous 15 years, obviously, because it's more hands on, it's more all encompassing, it's wider and it's more intense and so on and so forth. Uh, and that learning continues to this day. I mean, I'll hate to look at the day when I've not learned something new on my job. And I keep pushing my team also to get into this perpetual learning, virtuous cycle of learning and growing. And yeah, hopefully we'll learn together and become better and bigger.
Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for Plum, both in terms of product innovation and market expansion?
Our purpose and our vision is to be able to touch a billion lives every day with our message. That touching can happen through our product, obviously. It can happen through what we do on the CSR front. It can happen through our communication, reaching people with a message. It can happen through word of mouth, whichever way. Right. So, in a country of 1.5 billion people, can we reach billion people every day at some point in the foreseeable future? Answer is yes, if we played our cards right, and that's what we are aspiring towards. Now that will take us to an X number in terms of revenue, etc. That becomes an automatic outcome. But to be able to live this purpose larger than just about numbers is our sort of North Star goal. So that's as far as the business aspiration goes. Sorry, what was the second part of your question on brand? Is it
Yeah, both. I was asking both in terms of product innovation and market
product? Yeah,
expansion. Yeah.
the product is a function of what the market needs. I think we
Yeah.
have I dare say again, a reasonably wide offering at the moment, uh, which which we are not in a hurry to expand multifold, but expand more meaningfully, and also uh, things evolve over a period of time to people's preferences and people's let's say how choice variables, and therefore we will continue to innovate along those dimensions which are essential, necessary to give us the edge needed to achieve our vision. And so innovation therefore will follow strategy rather than strategy figuring out, okay, I've innovated, now how do I sell this product? It's more like I need to do this, therefore what products do I need to make? Is going to be the approach for us.
Great. So finally, what advice would you give to to the aspiring professionals who aim to follow a similar path like yours? Are there any specific they should focus on developing?
I think being able to listen to the customer with humility is the first thing, and it's a very underemphasized skill set and activity, and it is not easy. Even today, it is not easy for us, despite being D2C, etc. etc. We get so biased, so influenced by what you see around that we are human at the end of the day. We are not
Mhm.
machines. So we get influenced by what we see around us. My friend told me, my wife told me, my wife's friend told me, some customer that he met at the shop told me. But those are sure you're listening to people, but you're listening to people anecdotally, and maybe there's a selection bias there or confirmation bias there. One needs to develop the attitude as well as the humility to go out there, speak to people, and really understand what they need and go one level deeper than what they are telling you. And that is holy grail. I am not saying that we have achieved it. We struggle every day to get to that deeper level of insight across every single category we operate in, but it's an ongoing attempt. So I would say continue to develop that skill of listening to customers, because the customer makes or breaks your business. It is not
Absolutely.
you, it is not your team, it is not investors, it is the customer at the end of the day. So that's the first thing. Be customer centric, you know, madly customer centric. Second is be friends with money. Don't be friends with ideas alone. As entrepreneurs, we overemphasize on ideas. My idea is a killer idea, this, that. But uh, what kills killer idea is not paying attention to the metrics behind the money in and out of it. So some people are naturally good at managing money. Many people aren't. And those who aren't should realize that I am not good at managing money. So either I learn to manage money or I get somebody who I can trust to manage my money and tell me when I'm doing something wrong, which is going to uh, which might end up threatening the very foundation of what we're building. So it's that risk is there at every point in time, every level of scaling. That's the second thing I would say. The third thing is as you grow, you realize that it's not about you; it's about your people. And I can say without hesitation that working with a group of people and managing their aspirations and helping them grow and being their mentor, yet being a coach who challenges them is a very difficult balancing task. Everybody in my team struggles to manage their people, and people have struggles getting managed also. So it's a very complex thing to be able to manage people. What really helps is being straightforward and being clear in what we
Right.
ask of people. So, having said that, I think it's a skill that needs lifelong honing and humility to accept that I need to be better, I need to be better, I need to be better, and enter that situation with that humility, saying I will learn. I still say with humility that I have to learn a lot after 27 years of working in terms of how to manage people. There are certain heuristics that you develop over a period of time, but trust me, they don't work at all times, and times are changing. One has to be very adept at adapting to evolving tastes, preferences, uh, priorities of people to be able to work with them in a productive manner. So I would call these out as so listen to the customer, be friends with money, and learn how to manage people are the three things that I would call out as top learnings.